Hey guys, I'm going to go over a progression that really it's the only set of progression that I would use. It's the only one I recommend. It's the only one I would ever even program. We avoid sit-up stuff because sit-ups are not a performance enhancer at all. Like they're milestones test of lower body, strength endurance, anterior, okay? Because it's your hip flexors, not your abs. Yes, your abdominal wall is contracted isometrically, but your abs, from a standpoint of physiology, do not contribute to this or to this, right? I'm stabilized. These should not be shortening. I'm shortening my hip flexors, my iliacus, and my psoas. That's what this sit-up is testing. It's testing lower body, strength endurance on the anterior side, the front side, okay? So what exercise is that? Well, the problem with this sit-up, guys, is when I'm like this, my hips are already at flexion. What does that mean? It's like doing bicep curls, but stopping here. And if you go to here enough, what's going to happen is that shoulder, we get that really bad range of motion, that shoulder problem. So what ends up happening is you create a compensation from being there, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a benefit, right? What your goal is, you're going to find a decline. It should not be steep. This is at the lowest, the least incline as possible, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, because what you have to do in selection, typically we're gonna use the bud side, is you have to do 2 minutes of sit-ups. You do as many as you can in that 2 minutes, right? The arms are crossed, the elbows can't come off the chest, right? The knees are bent at 90 degrees, and the ankles are, and someone's pushing on your toes, and you're going up touching. How to touch the shoulder blades totally flat, right? You can't lift off, you can't stop, all those sort of things. So the biggest problem with sit-ups typically isn't that anything other than you can't do full 2 minutes of work volume. So that's your first goal. So for the very first week, you're gonna get on a decline no more than 3 times that week, right? And you're gonna give yourself a little test, right? And you can do it anytime in your workout, before, during, after. You could even, if you're successful in that first week, you could add it a couple different times. But you're gonna do 2 minutes of sit-ups, and this is your speed, okay? There's no speed, because you first got to understand that we got to be able to work for 2 minutes before we maximize that 2 minutes. So I'm gonna do this. Touch and sit. Touch and sit. That's all I'm gonna do for the first week. If you can right away do this for 2 minutes, then your next step is to do this. If you can then do this for 2 minutes, okay, by the second week, right, 3 times a week for 2 minutes, right? The next thing you're gonna do is do this for 3 minutes. Once you can do this, we're not counting. I'm not keeping track. I'm just doing minutes, okay? After you're able to do that for 2 minutes, 2.5 pounds, okay? Right? While I'm doing this, my toes are always lifted up. At no point in my sit-ups should my feet ever come down. Why? Because the neurological cueing for my brain says, tighten up your hip flexors when what happens? And I lift my toes, okay? So I'm gonna go from here, right, for 2 minutes. Maybe I can even do this. 2 minutes, right? When you can do this for 2 minutes, the next week, you get it, we go to 5 pounds. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And you guessed it, the last stage is a 10-pound weight for 2 minutes, okay? This should take you a couple weeks to get there, because here's the deal, is if you're doing this for 2 minutes, and your first minute looks like this, but your second minute's like this, that is a failure. That's it. You're not gonna do that. So when you can no longer persist at the rate of speed that you started at, stop, right? Segment it, right? The whole point of this is to acquire work volume in which your status, your position your state of acceleration isn't varying. It's a constant. You can choose slow to go slow, and as you get better, you can speed it up. But all we're concerned with is work volume, and also you notice the big thing of this. Where are my knees not at? They're not already in a pre-shortened phase. So because my hips are back, I'm actually working the full range of my hip flexor, in which I'm actually testing. So if I'm bent, it's a shitty curve, it's a shitty movement, okay? Stay long, stay in constant state of acceleration, and you're gonna never ever have to worry about sit-ups in any selection.